Hello and welcome to the podcast formerly known as Houston We Have a Podcast and is now known as The Fan and the Critic. My name is Carson. I am the quote-unquote critic from the title, and I am joined by always as Paolo, who is now quote-unquote the fan.
That's me.
Welcome to our new show, / the same show with a different title. You're welcome, NASA, for having your name back, even though you stole it from us. So yeah, on this, like, the reason why we picked that name is because, kind of showing our contrasting styles. Paulo, you're a little bit more in line with the fan opinions, and I'm a little bit more in line with the critic opinions. But I am reminded, because when we were workshopping new names, one of the things I put in my notes, I don't know if you ever read them, was like, we're not critics. I hate critics. Critics are terrible. And somehow I've ended up as the critic on this show. And I'm reminded of a quote from a Wes Anderson movie, The Life Aquatic, where when asked about being a father, Bill Murray says, I hated fathers and I never wanted to be one. And I feel like that kind of portrays how I feel about being the critic on this show. But nonetheless, I know that my opinions on movies are more in line with critics, so I am happy to be playing the critic role here.
I don't think it's through any fault of your own either. It's just that I'm so far into fan territory that it just makes you a critic, which is like you're not even a typical critic. You're like I don't know how to call it.
I think it's safe to say that while the fan and the critic is a good explanation of what type of movies we like, that I think that we hope to be a little bit more realistic than fans or critics. Because both sides have a tendency to like go over the edge on like the way that they feel about things and take things to the extreme. And I think that we're a little bit more, or I hope we're a little bit more reasonable than that. I guess we'll see.
We might prove ourselves wrong in talking about Ant-Man today, because I think our thoughts are going to be very in line with exactly what the Rotten Tomatoes score is. Like, I'm exactly the audience score, and you're the critic tomato meter.
Yes, so to sort of showcase this new style of ours, we've picked two movies that are kind of like a fan movie and a critic movie. We're not always going to be like that. We're still going to continue to have guests on. We're going to do some games. We're going to do some other stuff, or we'll just do reviews that aren't such polarizing movies. But for today, we're going to pick two polarizing movies. The first one, as you mentioned, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is more of the fan movie, and then the Banshees of Inisherin, which is more on the critic side of things. Our opinions, spoiler alert, are probably exactly what you think they're going to be. But nonetheless, we're going to get into both of them. Let's go ahead and get started then with my favorite movie franchise, of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which when we started this podcast 5 or 6 years ago, I said I didn't want to talk about, but yet we're talking about like almost every single one. And here we are with yet another one, Ant-Man and the Wasp, because this is more of the fan movie. How about you kick it off with an intro on this one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not a whole lot. I'm going to be the self-aware fan today, because, I mean, Marvel is like McDonald's, right? Marvel movies. It's fast and easy and comforting. Not that it's bad for you or bad for cinema, but I don't know. It's enjoyable. That's what I'm going to say. Ant-Man and the Wasp specifically, I even have my own little like nitpicks about it. But in general, I thought it was, I mean, even though it's like a CGI heavy, like just big typical Marvel movie, which kind of gets away from like the small, not grounded, I don't know what the word is, but like the smaller scale charm of the first couple Ant-Man movies, which I enjoyed very much, mostly because of Paul Rudd. Yeah, I mean, it just feels like it's the whole movie is built just to introduce Jonathan Majors and Kang and showcase him as they try to start off the next phase of Marvel. But I mean, for those of you living under a rock or not particularly caring about Marvel movies, Ant-Man is basically about the Ant-Man folks get sucked into the quantum realm where Kang has been trapped and he's trying to escape, and he needs, for some reason, he needs specifically Ant-Man to help him do that. I'm not going to say the plot is particularly good, but that's what it is, and I mean it's fun watching it unfold.
I had pretty low expectations going into it. Obviously saw some of the Rotten Tomatoes scores, people saying it wasn't good. Like I didn't expect much out of this movie, and it didn't even deliver that. I was okay with it being like Ant-Man. The first two movies are kind of just very simple type heist movies. Scott Lang is not the typical like MCU hero with all the muscles and just punching his way out of things. He's more like kind of a broken character, and I like that he had the criminal background. He wasn't the genius that like everyone else is for some reason. And so I kind of like that those little bit of side stories that they had going in Ant-Man 1 and even in Ant-Man 2, they had a villain which I thought was sympathetic villain. And so I just wanted some type of small scale interesting character story, and I knew it was going to be a CGI fest, and I'm okay with that as long as they had, an element of characters built into it. But I just didn't care about any of the characters, and I didn't understand what they were trying to do. I didn't understand the logic of the quantum realm, and it felt like it took away from the things that I enjoyed previously, which he's Ant-Man, he gets small. He doesn't really get small in this movie. You don't see like the micro world, and so there's that element of Ant-Man that was kind of stripped away from this. I didn't understand what Michelle Pfeiffer was talking about and her logic throughout the entire thing as well. I think they were going for like a cryptic angle on that. So I just had a hard time caring about the relationships of the characters. I like Jonathan Majors. I like what he was trying to do with the character. The movie kind of neuters him a bit, and I was like, I didn't really love how they finished it, but I liked some of the nuances of the character that he was kind of presenting at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, if you've ever listened to one of our podcasts, you just should know that it's spoilers right off the bat. But you like mentioning Jonathan Majors and Kang. I think one of my nitpicks about him is that he's supposed to be like, it's hard to understand his power and the rules around his power, because on one hand he's just zapping people away by pointing at them, and then when it's time to fight Ant-Man, he's like just punching him so that he doesn't die in a second and the movie's over. And I just thought it was pretty funny. Also, like considering how it's building him up to be such a big bad, like the conqueror, like he's unbeatable and he's killed the Avengers like millions of times over, and then Ant-Man beats him. But I mean, I agree with certain things of what you said. I mean, not to the extent of having low expectations and still being disappointed. I think I'm firmly on the other side of the spectrum, where it was on my top 10 of my movies that I was looking forward to this year, and I was really happy with it, as you can see as by my rating on our Instagram post. So I mean, yeah, let's get into it. I think.
So maybe let's start there. Why did you like it so much?
Okay, so I think I'll start off by saying again that I am a big fan of Paul Rudd. I think he's just. It's funny because the later Marvel movies with the original the original Avengers, so like Thor and Iron Man, and I guess I'll include Ant-Man in that as well, even though he's kind of like extended of the originals. But like the more movies that they're in, I feel like you can kind of tell that they start to care a little bit less. Not care a little bit less, but they start to just, it's not as serious anymore for them. And you could really, I feel like Thor, the latest Thor movie, what was it called? Love and Thunder. That's like a big example of that. Like, I mean, that's partly because of Taika Waititi just going off the rails, but there's also like I don't know. What's another good example? I don't know. I'll bring it back to Ant-Man. Paul Rudd is just like completely hamming it up as he normally does in other things when he's trying to be funny, and he succeeds, I think. Like the whole Baskin Robbins Ant-Man, Paul Rudd or Scott Lang showing up in the quantum realm when they were doing the was it the probability storm, or what was it called?
I think it was Probability Storm, but yeah, the heist that they're going into.
Yeah, yeah. So like it's just, yeah, the way that he's acting, I feel like I can kind of tell that he's just having fun with it now. So I mean that was part of it, but also like even with the complaints that I do have, like it's not it's going away from like the original Ant-Man movies, or like the vibe of the original Ant-Man movies. I think it was just fun enough, and like visually visually satisfying enough for me to enjoy. And even wait, there was damn it, I'm forgetting one big part as to why. No, that's really much it. Like just this, and also the silliness of it. I personally enjoy just that kind of style. I was actually surprised to find out that the director, I think director or writer, is the same for this movie as it was for their first two. Yeah. Because it, like, again, because the vibe is so different, and it is a big CGI fest, and it's all just like more so focused on Kang. But I don't know. It's my preference, I guess.
If I remember correctly, and I could be way wrong on this, but I think that they had tried to find another director initially, and that person kind of jumped out, and they said, "Oh, Peyton Reed, how would you come back in?" Which kind of mimics how Peyton Reed got the job to begin with, because the first Ant-Man was going to be directed by Edgar Wright, and Edgar Wright wanted to make his own, or was it Edgar Wright or was it somebody else? I think it was Edgar Wright, but I think Edgar he wanted Wright to do his own, like, be more creative and do his own stuff visually, and then Disney, of course, being like, no, you do our vision. So Peyton Reed is kind of the guy that's like, we have this movie that we want you to make. We don't want you to have opinions. Just go make our movie. And so they brought old Peyton Reed in again to do just that. But going back to Paul Rudd, I didn't enjoy this movie, but none of that is because Paul Rudd. He acts exactly as you would expect Paul Rudd in this movie. He has like a good level of dramatic acting and the silliness acting. The probability storm that you mentioned probably was my most favorite part, because it's all just Paul Rudd on the screen, and it was funny, and you have all these different elements to him. Where a lot of it fell apart was, and I know this isn't the point of the movie, but it has to have a dramatic core at some point, like something to root it in. And the whole element of him and his daughter, they kept vaguely referring to this element of, Kang has to give you time back with your daughter, and you've missed stuff, but they didn't connect that well enough, and I didn't really understand what they were going for. Like, they needed to make it a little bit more tangible of what Kang was offering him. Like, was he offering going back in time to before the snap, and like just something to make that a little bit more real, because they kept referring to it, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. And same with Michelle Pfeiffer, like she kept referring to, regret and all these things, and it's like you go back and they finally reveal, her initial interactions with Kang, and it's like, why don't you just tell people about this? Like, there's nothing for you to regret. And so it's like those little things, but I just need that minimum amount of dramatic story going on so that I understand the connections between the characters, so that the silliness can run rampant. But I felt like it was untethered silliness, and therefore not enjoyable.
I mean, that's fair. Like, I'm not going to deny that pretty much all the story elements were paper thin. Michelle Pfeiffer not wanting to talk about Kang at all, considering how dangerous she knows he is makes absolutely zero sense. I mean, maybe there's an element of guilt. The way I took it is that there's an element of guilt on of her abandoning the people of the quantum realm, resulting in all of their most of their deaths. I guess sure, I get that. Like that is just enough. Like that's an example of it being just enough to keep it moving, so that I can get to the next um, silly thing that I enjoy watching. And then also like what else was there? Like the whole thing between Scott Lang and his daughter having more time. Yeah, I mean, again, it's paper thin, but like I understood, or I feel like I understood that. I mean, it is more so just Kang not killing them so that they can have more time and not like maybe sparing Earth, because I think he mentioned that to Michelle Pfeiffer at some point in the beginning, like I'm gonna destroy everything, but your world will be safe, and that's I guess it's along the same lines of that with him and Scott Lang. So I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna argue too much against like the flaws of the movie, but I feel like it's again when I eat McDonald's, I know that I'm gonna probably get fat if I eat too much of it, but I'm still gonna do it, and I'm gonna enjoy it. God damn it!
Hey, I like McDonald's. I get the type of movie that this could have been. Like I can see a version of this movie that I enjoy. I just don't know if I wanted it to be more dramatic or more silly. Because the things that I did like about it, the ooze guy, I enjoyed his little comedic relief scenes. There's a part where one of their homes, like he finds out their homes are living things, and he's like, "Oh, your homes are alive?" And he's like, "Yours are dead."
Yours are dead.
But like that joke was like the one joke in the whole movie that really landed with me. Bill Murray did not work. I don't know why he's there, and I feel
that
like
was kind of unnecessary.
I lose a little bit more credibility for Bill Murray, I think, with everything he's doing these days. I know like there's issues about his past that are now coming to light. It's just becoming harder and harder to enjoy Bill Murray as a person.
Issues
anymore.
about his past.
Apparently he's a real dick, and he's been on set like with women, basically telling them like they're not good enough and not, anyway, I don't know.
Oh, that was I feel like that was known from a while ago though. Like I remember that specifically. I think with him and Lucy Liu when they were on Charlie's Angels together.
There's a few other people that have come out since as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I mean, I'm not particularly a fan of Bill Murray. He's not as I don't revere him as much as most.
As me, probably. Yeah, like it breaks down a little bit for me because, for example, there's a story about him and a bunch of other people like Tilda Swinton on like set of a movie that they're doing, and just hearing them all sit around the table together, like those group of people, I just think like, oh, I would love to be part of that group and just like hear what they have to say. And then when you hear stories like this, it's like, maybe they're not as admirable as I think.
Well, that's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean that like the cameo of Bill Murray was I felt like one of the more anticlimactic cameos, because like when they're trying to meet this person, like, oh, it's my friend, and you're kind of thinking, it's kind of stringing you along, thinking about like, oh, who's this gonna be, and then the reveal is that it's Bill Murray, but you don't really feel anything. It's like, oh, okay, it's Bill Murray. Contrasting that with maybe like I don't know, Zombieland. I think that's a good example where that was like a great cameo, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just it was executed better. Also combined with the fact that he wasn't seen as much of a dick back then. I don't know.
Yeah, and especially because at that time, like they were building up two characters. They were building up Krylar as this person that she was going to meet, and they were also building up the Conqueror, which I thought they actually did a good job of kind of foreshadowing him and kind of building him up, of like talking about him a bunch and talking about the impact that he did, and then finally revealing him. By the time they revealed him, I thought that there would be, I don't know, something a little bit more cinematic to finally seeing him and revealing him. But it kind of reminded me, and this is probably giving it way too much credit, Indiana Jones in the beginning. And this is probably for me like the pinnacle of revealing a character. But you kind of get a couple shots behind like Harrison Ford, and then like he's in the shadow, and then he finally like comes into the light.
Uh,
after, because he does like the whip and he has the gun, and then he steps out
yeah,
into
yeah.
the shadow and you see his face, and it's like, okay, that's a good reveal of a character. And so that's kind of what I compare everything against. And I felt something like that coming. Like they kept foreshadowing him, they were mentioning him, they had different characters talking
Hmm.
about him, and then I can't remember how they actually revealed him on set, but it was just like, oh, there he is, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel about Modoc?
Um, like it's silly, but can you really do Modoc not silly? So it felt appropriate, and if it had been in a better movie, I would have enjoyed the silliness of it. And that's one of those where I was talking like, would I want this to be more dramatic or more silly?
Yeah.
The silliness of that character and just how off-putting his face is, and the fact that they tied him back to an existing character as opposed to just having a new thing. Um, I liked that, and I liked his kind of, I don't know, redemption arc at the end or whatever you want to call it. That felt appropriate. So a lot of people are kind of shitting on the CGI for that. I'm not going to shit on that. Like, it was an okay character for what they had to work with. I don't know why they needed to put him in, but it was not the thing I hated the most.
Yeah. Well, that's actually surprising to me because that was like Modoc, as funny like as some of the segments were for him. I felt like they kind of they pushed it a little too far, or they just used him a little too much in a movie that was already a little bit. I don't want to say bloated, but there was a lot going on already. So I agree with like I don't the questioning why he had to be there necessarily. The way that they did do it and tie it into I don't even remember the guy's name, the villain from original
The
Ant-Man.
yellow jacket guy.
Yeah, yeah, yellow jacket guy. Yeah, I mean like that's good, that's fine, but like just it dragged on a little bit, especially like during his redemption arc. But I mean, it is also very silly, and I did enjoy it until he kind of overstayed his welcome. um,
For me, it was I think I didn't hate it because I expected worse. Because I knew that Modoc was going to be part of the movie, and I've seen Modoc in other, like there's a Modoc cartoon on Disney Plus with I think Patton Oswalt voicing it, and he's a really annoying character, and I don't know how you could do that well. So when they said Modoc was going to be in the movie, I was like, oh god, this is going to be terrible. And it was like slightly better than what I had feared. So I was like, okay, I can live with this.
okay, I guess it caught me off guard because I had no context as to what or who Modoc is like in Marvel terms. So just see the stretched face was kind of jarring for me, and
And
still
he doesn't have
funny.
a stretched face like that. Like the face is much weirder than the character is usually.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but like clearly it's just done because he's all like deformed, I guess. Um, and I mean they do address it because like every time someone sees his face, like for the first time, they always have to take a moment, which I mean, it was like on the border of doing that too many times, but yeah, it was good. It was fine.
But yeah, it was fine. And it's odd because I agree with your comment that like the movie's a little bloated, and I would have recommended they cut the things. But the only things I liked about the movie were the extra characters, like the rebels I'd mentioned with the ooze guy, and then the Modoc. It's like I
Mhm.
enjoyed those things, and I enjoyed Kang. I guess if I wanted to cut something, I'd cut the main characters.
But well,
Just
I
cut
mean, like
Michael
the
Douglas,
family.
and yeah,
Oh, but then
but
with if you cut Michael Douglas, you wouldn't have the visual of him sticking his hands into the jelly steering wheels. Which is like literally probably the only thing that he did in the movie, aside from bringing the ants, which again, like going back to like this Ant-Man movie not really being an Ant-Man movie, it's because I felt like even having the ants come back and save the day, that was kind of like shoehorned in, and that was like the only remaining like theme or like carryover from the original Ant-Man movies. Even like him, I think you mentioned it earlier about he doesn't really do Ant-Man things. Like even in the final fight with him and Kang, it's just like two guys fighting, like literally fist fighting. So there's nothing Ant-Man about it. It probably could have been any other superhero, and really wouldn't have mattered.
I didn't mind that fist fight just because Jonathan Majors was doing such a good job of like selling it. But when you mention
Yeah.
it logically, yeah, it does sound kind of silly. Here's another thing that I have a real pet peeve about with Ant-Man. So maybe this is more part of the comics, and I don't know if they actually set this logic up in the movie, but the whole reason why he's strong when he's small is because the technology says that it shrinks the space between atoms. So you have the same level of mass and the same level of strength that a regular human being has in a very small point. So when he becomes really big, he should have no strength. He should just be size, because you have the normal strength of a human person in a giant body. So it should almost be like a fear
Yeah.
tactic of, look how big I am. But whenever he's big, he keeps being like really strong and like trashing buildings and falling into planes in like the Germany airport. And it's like, I don't understand the point of this now. And it just kind of throws the whole thing out the window.
You know, I have nothing to say that. I think that's way. I mean, that I think that's much more thought out than anyone has done at Marvel. um,
Let's talk about Kang, because I want to.
okay.
This is interesting thing. How do you feel about Kang in terms of the next villain? Are you looking forward to the Kang Dynasty and those other movies?
Um, yes, mostly because so again, like a lot of I'm not a huge comic book guy as much as I love like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love the movies, but I'm not particularly a fan of I never really read comics. I know who the characters are. I don't know all this extra stuff like Modoc. I'd never heard of him before. Kang, I had never I mean, maybe I've heard of him in passing. So like it's not a thing for me about like, oh, Kang, he's such a cool character. I want to see more of him. It's like me and I feel like most other fans are well, I wouldn't even say fans here. Like most of the people who are like casually watching these movies um are enjoy Kang or are intrigued by Kang because he's played by a good actor in Jonathan Majors, who's like the hot thing right now, right? Um so I mean him as a character is interesting because I think Jonathan Majors is doing a good job. But again, going back to like me not understanding, like he's supposed to be really strong, right? But it's I think there's going to be real difficulty in the future movies, like if there's going to be like a sort of cat and mouse thing where they're going to be fighting Kang over a while without him just destroying them immediately. It's going to take a lot of like of explaining or like plot armor. I feel like so. I think that's the problem that I see with it. I mean, theatrically and stylistically, or he's going to be fun to watch. I think it's just I don't know how they're going to handle that.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna complain too much about the whole plot armor thing of him suddenly being defeated by ants. Like I do, I think probably with many people, wish that they had found some other way to have him lose without like being some trick or something, so that
Mm-hmm.
like you still have to present him as a scary character. Um, I do like I know of Kang the Conqueror somewhat, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert in all the things that he's done. I am interested, as you said, because Jonathan Majors is doing it, and I like the fact that Jonathan Majors gets to play different versions of that character. I don't know
Yeah,
I don't know if that was a post-credit scene or if it was actually at the end of the movie, but they reveal like the three other
it
versions and
was.
then like the whole stadium full of things.
Yeah,
And then I don't know if you had watched Loki, but he's in that, and it's a slightly different version than he's playing as Kang the Conqueror because he's the one who
yeah.
remains. But I find it interesting, and that's probably the only reason why I'm continuing to kind of pay attention to these MCU things, because I just want to see where they go with it. They've presented him as this character that, you know, hey, he's beaten the Avengers all these times. He doesn't really care about the Avengers. He cares about beating himself. And that they've kind of potentially teased the idea that if he's not there to beat his variants, then the universe will be destroyed. So he's kind of hero slash villain, and he has some complexity to him. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. But at the same time, me watching it feels like, I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where like Mythbusters or some science show, they take like a car and they go full speed at a wall. And the way that
Yeah,
they edit it is like they do 10 different angles, and it's like almost hits, almost hits, almost hits, and you just want to be like, I want to see how this thing crashes. I want to see the aftermath. And that kind of describes how I feel about probably both the MCU and the DCEU at this point, to be like, I just want to see what disaster comes, and I'm entertained by that more so than the actual story.
Yeah, but like on that note, I feel like as much as I love Ant-Man, to demonstrate that in this movie, like this is Kang's phase now, right? At the end, just have him kill Ant-Man. Like Ant-Man traps him in the quantum realm, he kills him, and that's it. Like now you've built this terrible villain who everyone hates, because not hates, but like it's clear that he's a threat because he killed goofy, silly Ant-Man, who I guess maybe I love, but I don't know if everyone loves. I feel like the general consensus is that Ant-Man is mid, but he's like he's like a silly character, and it would be really kind of shocking to just see him die like that, right? And I mean, I feel like it was leading up to that, but they just couldn't pull the trigger on it, and I really don't understand why. I felt like that would have added a lot more to the movie and given it like the dramatic effect that kind of you were looking for.
Or better yet, just have Michelle Pfeiffer's character do that, because that would be the proper conclusion to her character, to say, hey, I'm righting my wrongs. Michelle Pfeiffer, nobody cares about her in the context of the MCU. So I feel like you obviously wouldn't have the same weight as killing off Ant-Man, but at least have him do something like that.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. There's a bit of a missed opportunity there, I feel. But all that being said, I enjoyed the ride. And it was also nice, like completely side note, like off topic. Well, not off topic completely, but Chidi from The Good Place, the mind reader guy, black dude from Midsummer as well. It's nice to see him in this movie.
He's also Everett from the movie Patterson, where Adam Driver plays a bus driver.
He is. I actually knew that. I haven't gone all through Patterson. I haven't watched Patterson from beginning to end, but yes, I did actually know that, surprisingly. But yeah, it's nice to see him.
Yeah.
The Good Place is a good show.
I've watched 2 episodes. I didn't stop watching for any particular reason. It seemed okay. The last thing I'll say about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is Catherine Newton, who plays Cassie Lang, Scott's daughter. She was good in that other movie she did that probably got her this role. Freaky, I think is the movie. I hated her in this, and probably every press conference she's done for this movie. She just annoys me. So there's just and maybe I'm judging her too much based on real world personality, which I should never do. But she was doing this interview and explaining why she liked playing the character of Cassie Lang, and she just seemed like really out of touch with the character, and being like, oh, because this character's such a nerd and I'm such a nerd. And it's like, you're not a nerd, you're like a hot girl actress, like shut up. So it's just like her whole personality I feel like doesn't fit right. And also, and this is maybe separate from her, but don't like about the character, MCU is really overdoing the child genius element of their characters these days. They did that in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where they had the character that's like, oh, super genius young person. I guess that, like that's just the thing they default to give someone character and personality. And it's like, okay, her dad's a thief. She didn't have like parents for a while. Like you can do, and that's why I liked Ant-Man, is he's a thief, he's a criminal, he's not hero man. And so these type of like flaws and different characteristics made him more interesting. Whereas, I don't know, it just makes his daughter less interesting.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I didn't really consider that or her too much, aside from, I don't know, it's nice that she's tried to learn how to do Ant-Man things, Ant-Woman now, I suppose. Jump and tap? Shrink and tap?
I liked what they were going for with the whole like mentoring her in the role.
Yeah.
Didn't really land for me, but I liked the attempt.
That's fine.
Any last comments about Ant-Man?
No, that actually caught me completely by surprise. I hadn't watched any of like the interviews or press with her. So I didn't know what she's like at all. Isn't she related to someone? Is she like one of those Was it Nepo Babies?
I'm opening up IMDb to check.
All right.
Uh, Things I should have done before, but
How would you? No, I don't. Robin Newton and David Newton. Never heard of them.
I don't know. I know there's a
I
lot
was
of
thinking,
controversy around Nepo babies right now, but
yeah. Well, there's a plus for Catherine Newton. She is not one of those. She is self-made. She's putting the work in. Good for you, Catherine Newton, future and woman.
all right. Now we will move on to our second feature, where I will say good things and you will say negative things as a change, and we will talk about the Banshees of Inisherin, which stars Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, two of the what I think really good actors these days. Directed by Martin McDonagh of the McDonagh brothers, who have done some really good stuff, including The Guard, In Bruges, Three Billboards of Ebbing, Missouri, War on Everyone. I love pretty much their entire catalog. Seven Psychopaths in there as well. Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson feature heavily in both of those directors' movies. And this one, while not up to par with some of the other ones, like this is one where I said, Ant-Man, I had really low expectations in. I had really high expectations for this one. It did not meet those expectations, but I still relatively enjoyed the movie. I have a lot of good things to say about it. I guess I'll leave it there. Any thoughts before you had watched the movie?
Wasn't it one of your like top 10 from last year?
It's been on my top 10 probably a couple years now because no, maybe it was only 1 year that I had it, but I had been aware about this movie for a couple years and I had been looking forward to for a while. So it wasn't just like I saw a trailer and I was looking forward to it. Like I had a long ramp up of expecting something really good, which probably led to my maybe too high of expectations.
Okay. I'm not gonna have a whole lot to say that's very different. I feel like I'd like to hear how you felt about the movie as a whole, just aside from like, okay, there's a bit of a disappointment there, but what did you enjoy about it particularly? Is what I'm curious about. I guess the same question you asked me about Ant-Man.
Yeah, so probably like the main thing that I enjoyed about watching this movie, and is a big theme around movies that I really like, is about being in the setting. And this movie made me want to be on that island and go have a beer in that particular pub. For those who haven't seen the movie, it takes place on a small island off the coast of Ireland, a town of like maybe 20 people or so, maybe slightly more than that. But it's a couple friends who get in an argument and one of them doesn't want to be friends with the guy anymore. But they have like this very typical pub where you go to, again, town of like 20 people. They go there every day at 3:00. They meet the same bartender, the same friends. They have the same pint. They sit in the same like chair and same table. And like that setting for me is what, like, I could have just watched people do literally anything in that setting for 4 or 5 hours and I still would have enjoyed it from that perspective, which isn't too far different than what the movie actually is, because there's not a whole lot that happens. But it's about kind of, I'm in my daily life, I'm going to work, I'm going out and doing groceries, blah, blah, blah. I sit down and from the first frame of the movie, I am no longer in my world, I am in this world. And that element of a movie watching experience appealed to me. I did like I'm not going to say the entire story and movie was shit, because like I did enjoy the performances and the characters and the stories and all that. But the main appeal to the movie is the setting and just the world that they have created as a place that I felt like I was in myself as I was watching it.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, there's a bit of a difference of opinion, especially in terms of like the escape element. I mean, the setting is beautiful, 100%. I will agree with you there. I don't know if I would. I actually remember watching part of the movie. So for full context, I didn't finish the movie. I couldn't. But like I do remember, I don't know, somewhere near the beginning, it's just showing the landscapes and everything of the island, and I was looking at it. I was like, I'd really like to go there and just see it. But
And
then
I'm
I
not
thought
even
about it.
sorry, go ahead.
But no, I was just gonna say, and right after that, I thought like yes, but also after a day, maybe I'll probably be done because there's not a lot to do there. This like lens, there's a good connection between like what I like and how I perceived this movie. So, but what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, when I say that I wanted to be part of this world, it's not necessarily because of the beauty and the vistas and all that. It's
Oh yeah.
more the simplicity of the world. It reminded me when I was 21, I lived in Ukraine for a summer. And there was this, I was there for a couple months, and for I think half of that time, I was living in this very small town in the mountains. And I was like teaching English to a bunch of kids. But there was like a town of maybe 50 people, and I would have to go walk on train tracks for like 20 minutes to go to a grocery store that had like it was like a small department store type thing.
Hmm.
And yes, you can talk about being bored, but at the same time, like I loved that lifestyle of every like you can't do anything else. Like you're not distracted, you don't have the anxiety and the
Yeah.
stress of the world. You're just like really focused in the here and now of your life. And when they were walking to and from the pub, there's like all those roads that have a bunch of rocks on the sides. I just
Mhm.
wanted to go for a walk down those roads and have kind of like an empty mind and not really think about
Yeah.
anything. So that appeal, like it kind of reminded me of that month I spent in the mountains in Ukraine, where it's like I didn't have technology, I didn't have movies or TV shows. I would have to, again, it was an hour long adventure to go get food. I also
Yeah.
had these like babushkas who were cooking like fresh food right out of a garden for me every day, and it just felt like a very real, grounded way of living. And so when you talk about like you'd like to be there for a day, I'd like to be there for a year and just have that simplicity of life.
And I feel like that's exactly where we diverge here in terms of just the like even bringing it back to the movie. Like because I totally get that. I feel the same way about, again, like even not just how everything looks there, but also that lifestyle. Like I do occasionally like that, but when it comes down to it, I can't take that for more than like for too long. Because I will get bored. I'm like a city person. I need things happening. Like I have a short attention span. So not sometimes, most of the time. So like, and this again, tracing it back to the Banshees of Inisherin, like I went into it not knowing what it was about exactly. I knew enough. Well, it turns out I knew exactly what it was about because all I had known was that these two friends, they one of them just doesn't want to be friends anymore.
That's the
And
whole movie.
that's the whole movie. Yeah. So, but then I also heard like, oh, it's getting all these great ratings, like everyone loves it. And I do like occasionally I do like that kind of movie. Again, like going to a place like that and enjoying that slow pace of lifestyle, not getting distracted by anything. I like that stuff sometimes. Even like some of the other stuff that Martin McDonough has done. You just mentioned Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I just rewatched that actually like a few days ago. So
I
I
think
like
that was
that
his
one. Like
brother
in
actually,
oh
but it was one
well
of the McDonoughs. Yes.
yeah, or like in Bruges, that was him, right?
I'm gonna check, but I think so.
Okay. But like that one in Bruges, I really liked, and I watched it for the first time also like a few weeks ago. So I really enjoyed that, and like the chemistry between Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, like both individually actors that I like. Um, Maybe not so much Colin Farrell when like he's trying to be pushed as a action star or like all some of the other corny stuff that he's done. But stuff like this, yes, I enjoy it sometimes. But then this movie specifically, I got the gist of it. I feel like I got the gist of it, like the whole plot of the movie, which is friend doesn't want to be friends anymore, and that's it. I got that within like the first maybe 30, 40 minutes, and it was like, okay, it was fun. It's cool seeing Colin Farrell just try to figure it out. Like, why does he not want to be friends with me? And he's like talking to these different people and he's going through this small town just trying to figure it out. And Brendan Gleeson is like threatening to at one point he like threatens to chop his own hand off
Yeah.
if Colin Farrell doesn't leave him alone. Like that was okay. It's funny, it's good, but after like 30, 40 minutes, I was like, okay, that's it. Like I feel like I'm kind of I couldn't get through the rest is what I'm trying to say. But I mean, I don't hate the movie by any means. It's just like not something that I can entertain myself with for hours if it's that.
The one thing I'll say is it does escalate a little bit more as the movie goes on, and I don't know where exactly you left off. And I'll just say spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't watched it. He does eventually cut off all his fingers and like throws them at Colin Farrell's door, and then he like Colin Farrell burns down his house at the end and hopes that he's inside. And anyway, it does. It starts to escalate as the movie goes on, and never really explains why. Like, you know as much about why each of them were doing that at the beginning. There's no change in that or revelation. It's just like it just gets more and more. The value of the like the movie outside of the setting is, I think, the performances of the actors, and I'm surprised it's getting as much like Oscar recognition as it is, because it's kind of, I think this movie would be better enjoyed if it was just kind of a smaller movie that somebody could just turn on and enjoy. But now, because it's nominated for Best Picture and all these awards, it kind of has this hype around it that people would expect more. And it's not. It's just like a really small story. And both these brothers have made a lot of movies like that where it's just kind of much smaller. You are right that this director did Three Billboards and In Bruges. His brother, John Michael McDonagh, is actually, his movies look more like this one. They're much more like smaller, grounded stuff. There's a movie that he did where Brendan Gleeson stars as a priest called Cavalry, where he's like a drunken priest and he's angry and swearing all the time, which is basically this movie but more interesting, like more interesting characters, more interesting like threat, more like stuff going on. So I will say, of all these brothers movies, this is probably one of my least favorite, but that still puts it one of my favorite movies of the year, just because there's not a whole lot coming out right now. But yes, shout outs to Barry Keoghan, who does a phenomenal job as like the island idiot. Carrie Condon, who plays Colin Farrell's sister, who does like a phenomenal job in like that little nuanced character. There's just a lot of side characters who do a good job in their part. But unlike Ant-Man, where these are kind of just distractions, like they all feed into the main story, which, I mean, I guess similar to Ant-Man, the main story is one of the less interesting parts of it, but at least the side characters are contributing to that story and kind of making it more interesting.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not gonna argue too much there. Like I said, I don't hate the movie. I understand why someone would like something like this. I mean, it's just a different kind of person for me, because I'm gonna start I'll watch this movie, and then like halfway through I'm gonna get up and go and watch Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, I will admit that like when I say I would love to be on this island for a year, a month into that year I would probably get tired and want to not be on that island anymore, but maybe I just like the idea of it. One other thing I'll mention just around the McDonagh brothers filmography, one of the things that you had complained about Ant-Man, the only complaint you had about Ant-Man on our Instagram post was that it didn't have enough Michael Pena. Michael Pena does star in one of the guy's brothers films, War on Everyone, which I think is probably the most underrated of, because it basically got no acclaim. It's like the black sheep of the McDonagh brothers movies, but I found it very entertaining, basically because it's Michael Pena and Alexander Skarsgård doing like, they're like crooked cops. So very much recommend that movie.
Yeah, that one has been on my list for a while, actually. I've known about this movie because I think it was on Netflix. I don't know if it's still there, but I have wanted to watch it. I've just never brought myself to do it. And then side note about, I mean, kind of related to that movie, but I just remember that every time I look up a movie with Alexander Skarsgård on IMDb, I just wonder why there's a picture of him. Like his picture is just him without pants. If you have not seen this, if you're listening right now and you have not seen this, look him up on IMDb.
Alexander Skarsgård is a good actor, and I have looked up many of his movies on IMDb to be greeted by that same picture. So, yeah. Most recently, Infinity Pool, which is my favorite movie of 2023 so far. Probably because I've only watched like 3 movies so far.
Well, I don't know if I'm getting too ahead of myself here, but for everyone listening, we will be talking about Infinity Pool in the very near future because Carson has recommended, well, yes, recommended it, not necessarily to me, but I am going to watch it, and I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to have a similar experience to when I watched Titan.
It is not as weird as Titan.
Really? Well, actually, that's okay. I don't think anything's as weird as Titan,
Yeah, that's a
but
pretty
it
high bar to
seems
set.
okay. It seems pretty weird though. What my wife and I do when we're getting ready to watch a movie is like we'll take turns. One of us will pick three movies, and then we just like take one out one by one until there's one left. And I can't remember what the picks were, but between when I was choosing, I remember Infinity Pool was one of them. And then we watched the trailer and she removed it immediately. So I don't know. I might have to watch this one by myself. I don't know when I'm going to find the time to do it, but I am committed to watching it because we will be talking about this on a future podcast.
And it'll be my excuse to just talk about Mia Goth for like an hour.
Yeah, she's kind of like not explode. She's like indie exploding right now, right?
She's very much indie exploding with Pearl and the movie X, which that Wednesday actress was also in, which everyone knows about that movie. And then she's in the third movie of that trilogy, Maxine, that's coming out next year, which I am very much looking forward to. Probably too high of expectations for, because the first two are kind of enjoyed because of how simple they are. But anyway,
Mia Goth is like the photo negative of Jenna Ortega. I feel like
she's married to Shia LaBeouf too, or was at one point.
Mia Goth was?
I think they might still be, but
interesting. Well done.
All right, we'll wrap this episode up with the Oscars are coming out tomorrow. Do you have any quick thoughts on the Oscars of what you care about or things that you are upset about or looking forward to that?
I am going to forever stand by Everything Everywhere All at Once, which has gotten a lot of nominations. I feel like there's some pretty stiff competition, having just looked at the categories and the nominations like 5 minutes ago, before we started recording. I also heard there was like some sort of controversy about the Woman King not being nominated for anything. Is that true?
I haven't heard that because I've heard a lot of people say that the Woman King is not that good, but there's a lot of diversity in the nominations this year, so I don't think they can bring that complaint.
I spend too much time on Twitter. There is something about like I think it was Viola Davis who said something along the lines. I'm going to be careful here because this is all secondhand information. I could be completely off, inaccurate, but I do remember reading something about Viola Davis saying something to the effect of, "If you don't watch The Woman King, you're racist," or something like that. Again, don't hold me to what I'm saying. This is probably untrue. I think this is all just demonstrating how little I've been paying attention to the Oscars.
Yeah, like I haven't watched the movie, so I can't comment on it too much. I would be a hypocrite if I said that the movie isn't good because it's not historically accurate, which is one thing that people have pointed out a lot, because I love many other movies which are not at all historically accurate, so I'm not going to hold that against it. You've told me that it has good cinematography. I like movies with good cinematography, so I mean, I haven't watched it, so maybe I'm a racist, but I'll have to watch it tonight just so I can tell people I'm not racist, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the criteria, the passing grade. Also Black Panther, but you've watched that one already, so I think you're safe. You're like half racist.
Good to know that I'm half. That's probably like of the people that I'm not sure why are nominated, and maybe this is putting me, and maybe I shouldn't even say this. Angela Bassett on Black Panther I'm just like, why is she nominated? There's a lot of other great actresses who did a lot of good stuff this year. So that would be my one. Well, that's not my one complaint about Black Panther. I have many complaints about Black Panther, but that's one of my complaints about the Oscars. Is I feel like they could have done a little better in that category. But
Who do you feel would be deserving of that of her nomination?
so
Who of all these white actresses, Carson? Which no,
the girl who played Max in Stranger Things, she was in The Whale. I don't know her name, but she did a phenomenal job. And I was surprised. So the other woman who did get nominated for Best Supporting Actress for The Whale, Hong Chow, she also did a phenomenal job. So I'm not going to say that she is not worthy, but I would say that that actress did a better job than Angela Bassett, who was, I would say, kind of in Black Panther too. But like, I like Angela Bassett. She did a great job in Mission Impossible a couple of years ago as like kind of the director. She has a line which like always comes up in my head when I'm at work where Tom Cruise or somebody, Alec Baldwin says something to her about like, you know, Tom Cruise and his team, they should have died. And she's like, that's the job. And like her delivery of that line is like stuck in my head for like the last 5 years now. So I like Angela Bassett as an actress. I don't think she particularly did that great of a job in Black Panther.
Yeah. I mean, I know of, again, from Twitter, I know of a lot of people that would strongly disagree. I think there's a lot of hype around her performance. I think just how emotional, like her emotional performance, I guess, all things considered, with Chadwick Boseman and the relationship and I guess the parallels between that and her character in the movie. And people do think that she did a very good job. I think she did a great job as well. I don't know about Oscars, but well, I'll leave it at that. I don't know about Oscars. Period.
I'm not going to say she did terrible. I just think I was like, oh,
yeah,
her? Really? That was, I guess, my initial thought.
I also haven't seen The Whale, but I might not. I might not, period.
I recommend it. I don't know if I'd recommend it to you. Maybe that's a good explanation of the movie.
Yeah. It's good. It saves, like, we have really efficient recommendations for each other. It's I must say, it's good. It's good the extent of how we know whether or not one of us will like something.
And the last comment I'll make on The Whale is my wife had a crush on Brendan Fraser growing up, and with that movie, I think it's officially done. So.
Oh, come on.
But good for Brendan Fraser.
He's back, baby.
He's doing a great job. I hope he gets... unfortunately, his role in an upcoming DC movie got cut because every role in every DC movie got cut. But...
What was he supposed to be?
I forget the name of the character. It was like Fire something or other, but it was going to be like I don't know if it was like a villain or like an anti-hero type one. But it was probably going to be a heavy CGI-esque role, so maybe good that he can do better dramatic things now.
Yeah, that reminds me of, sorry, like last thing, because I know we're kind of meandering right now, but that reminds me of I think the first G.I. Joe movie where Brendan Fraser was in it for like 5 minutes as the boot camp instructor or drill instructor for the G.I. Joes. And I just remember, like, that was probably the first time I had seen him in anything since the last Mummy movie, like the bad one, with Jet Li. And I just remember seeing him in that tiny role, and I was like, that's what he's doing now? Like, what? Anyways.
Hey,
he's back.
Those roles at those time in his life was probably keeping him alive. So, anyway.
God.
All right. Well, on that depressing note, we'll leave it off there. Stay tuned to our Instagram, now renamed The Fan and the Critic, all one word. We will be doing trailer reactions and maybe some more comments on the Oscars in advance of tomorrow's show. And the fact that I'm calling it tomorrow's show means I'm kind of on the hook to post this episode today. So I guess I'll be doing that.
Hey, good job.
Bye.
Bye.